Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the Figma BERSERK Armor Guts figure. This is the last of the Guts figures that I have to review, and somebody was nice enough to send one to me for a review. I think I'm just going to keep it though. He doesn't know that, but I might just keep it, you know, not send it back, because what the heck? I have it in my hands, and possession is 9/10 of the law, so it's mine now. No, of course I'm only kidding, but it is a pretty cool figure that I would want to own. I just can't afford one right now, so I get to review it, and you guys get to see it, even though I don't get to own it. Let's look at the packaging first, because most people like to worry about the packaging for imports, which is understandable. They're nice packages, collectible, they're nice for display. You can see SP046, some kind of exclusive. I don't remember what the exact story is for this Guts, but really nice packaging, very cool. You can see the BERSERK armor with the helmet down right there, all lit up. And then you can see some poses on the back here. Maybe on this side, it's open. Well, is it open? I think it's open. No, it's closed still. Open on the back here. So anyway, you can see all that in person, so that's what I'm going to show you now. I want to point out, before I get into the actual figure, inside the packaging are a couple of these cards, which has the armor open and closed with the little ghost girl. I don't remember what that is, because I know almost nothing about Guts once he's in the armor, so I'm not 100% sure. But he also comes with the manga, so that's kind of cool. If I was getting this, I'd be happy to read through this, and it is in Japanese, so you're going to need to know some kanji. I think I might be able to get through it with a little bit of practice and a little bit of work, but it's pretty cool. I love the artwork in the manga here, and it's a really nice piece. So it's nice that they included that. Fits in its own little part of the tray. So again, nice little collectible piece, and then the cards are pretty awesome. Also, in the back of the cards have that on there. It says BERSERK. I guess maybe they're collectible. Oh, they're postcards, I guess. I don't know. Whatever, still kind of cool. So that's included. Now let's look at the figure. He comes with a bunch of stuff. First of all, he's got the two different versions of the head that I mentioned. We'll go through all of the accessories first. Let me grab them all, because it's kind of a lot here, which is a good thing. So we have two different heads. We have this head, which is the head where you can still see his face. You can see his teeth in there, and his eye kind of through this eye hole. It doesn't line up as well as I would like, but you can kind of see it if the light's shining properly. And of course this eye is gouged out, but we can pop this off, and he doesn't have alternate faces, so that's kind of curious. But you can pop that off, and maybe you can swap out the faces with the... No, I don't think you can swap them out with even the other Guts figure, but anyway, there's his face. Nicely done, but helmet's going to probably stay on anyway, so it doesn't matter. So that's with the helmet open, not closed, and then if you want to swap them out, you can, and you actually swap out the head. I'll show you this process so that you understand how it works. This piece is soft, by the way. Not super soft, but soft enough. And I'll give you a height measurement in a minute. I just wanted to go through the parts and everything first, since most people know what size Figmas are. So this piece comes off altogether. This collar piece with the top of the cape, this comes off. You pull it forward. It doesn't come off very easily all the time, but that's how it pegs in right there. You swap it out with this one that doesn't have the helmet piece on it at all, and then you can swap the entire helmet head back on. And the cool thing about this helmet head, which I am going to show you before I put it on, that the mouth opens and closes, which is really cool, and they did a great job painting that red and orange in there, so that's pretty nice. Let's put this all the way back on so you can see what it looks like. And there you go. Really cool looking. Unfortunately, the posability doesn't work that well, especially with the cape on, and then the top part of the cape and the back of the helmet, there's just no room really for the head to move much, so it's a little disappointing. The cape does not come on the figure in the package, it comes on its own tray. Let's take the cape off so I can show you the rest of the figure a little more easily. Plus, it's kind of just, like I said, it gets in the way of posing. Let's see if it'll come off. There we go. So it just pegs into his back, and that's what holds it in place. So don't expect to pose this at all. It does have a peg hole in the top here, which is for the little ghost person thing, which, like I said, I'm not familiar with that, but it's translucent plastic with some paint on there, and then the head is also articulated, and that hand just pegs in to this so that she can sit like over his shoulder. Only problem is, when this is on, that peg goes underneath this, so it's really hard to get her on there. So anyway, let's look at the cape. Sculpt wise, it's awesome. Paint is pretty good. It's black with like some brown dry brushing on there, so it looks really cool, but it's super flat paint, and the plastic is very not dense, I guess. I don't know what the word for not dense is. Maybe that's it. I don't know. It's very cheap feeling plastic, and then having the flat paint makes it feel even cheaper. It's not technically cheap, but be careful because it is a brittle type of plastic and flat paint, so it'll be easy to scratch and maybe even break if you drop it, so be careful. But it's better than having the soft plastic one or the cloth one that the other guts had that looked like a dryer sheet. But still, I don't know if I feel so good about having the hard brittle plastic cape. Looks good, but not really great for posing. So we're gonna set that aside. So you've already seen the two collar pieces, the two heads, the ghost lady. Of course, you're interested in the giant sword, which is awesome, very well done. And now we can do our height measurement and our sword measurement at the same time. The sword measures 6.75 inches long from tip to handle, and then he measures pretty good size for a Figma actually, about 6.5 inches tall to the top of his head, so a pretty good size for sure. He of course comes with the standard Figma display. He has the little extension on here, this one colored instead of clear, but the same thing as always. And then we have a bunch of hands. So we have two open hands just on there right now. I'm not sure if he came that way since, like I said, I didn't get this, I didn't buy this, but he has the two fist hands right there. Then we have two more open hands, then we have two more all the way open hands, and then on another tree we have some gripping hands, some angled gripping hands, and then some even more angled gripping hands, and they're all really well detailed. So we have 6, 12, 14 hands in total. Lots of posing options, very good. And the big sword helps a lot. So as far as the posability on the figure itself goes, I'll pop the head off so you can see what we have going on. So that just pegs in to the bottom of the head. Then we have the standard Figma hinge, so it'll technically swivel around in that socket also. And then the neck itself is on at least a ball peg, maybe another one of these hinges. Can't quite tell because it doesn't have that much range of motion due to the sculpt, but the neck will move around. And now you're probably wondering how the shoulders work with all of this plate armor on there. And it's kind of a good question, but it's not as complicated as you might think. This piece right here, this innermost piece, is just a floaty piece that's going over the standard Figma ball hinge. Maybe you can see that kind of. Soft plastic ball hinge, pegs down and then into the arm that way. So you can move the arm, excuse me, and you have pretty much full range of motion. You can rotate around and bring it in and out this way and bring the arm up. The only part that's really limited is going up to the side. That's pretty limited because this is all one piece and you can't really do much about that. But you can swing it around pretty much any other way. So you should be able to pose it well enough. And it looks really good. It hides the articulation really well. It's just limited vertically a little bit. We have the standard, it's actually a knee joint it looks like that they normally use for the elbow, but that's good because it's bigger and it fills in the arm nicely, so that's good. All the hands are hinged and of course pegged. This torso joint I can show you. So it's a hinge that goes into the upper body and then a hinge, or I mean a peg that goes in and then a hinge, standard for Figmas. Then we have a ball peg in the bottom. Now unfortunately, I don't know if this is a common issue, but this one is particularly loose. Not so much so that I can just flick it around, but once you put the body on there, it becomes rather unsatisfactory, I guess. Just a little bit more loose than I would like. It's a little floppy. Not a huge deal, but it is a problem. Then I think we have just our standard three-way ball peg that goes into the lower torso and then into each leg. This is soft plastic in here, so you can move the legs a little bit. These are soft, but it's still pretty limiting. I know he doesn't probably need to be in the most dynamic of poses, but you're going to have some trouble posing the legs, I would say. These pieces are hard. This piece is fairly hard, so it's not going to have the great range of motion that you would really hope for. So we have a hip socket, and then that socket actually, it moves around the ball peg, but then you can rotate around that socket also. Still not the best range of motion. All of these black parts, by the way, do have the same brown dry brushing as the cape, so that looks really good. And then all of the armor has like a nice silver dry brushing on top of that almost slate colored steel, which looks really good. And of course the buckles and straps are all painted nicely. Very, very appealing figure, even though some of the articulation is a little bit limited. I think once you get him in one or two cool poses, you'll be sold on this guy. Alright, so for the knee, we have the standard Figma knee with this kind of kneecap cupping over that just to hide the joint a little bit. Doesn't look all that good in some poses, but then others you'll be able to position it in a way that hides it. You can kind of push it back, and that helps a lot. but it's going to want to float out like that, so just make sure you push it back. But even then, it's still a little bit segmented, but definitely not bad. So once you push it back, you should be just fine with it, I think. I wouldn't pose it so that you can see the gaps, but the gaps aren't even that big, so no big deal there. I do like that design better than most Figma knees. For the ankles, we have the standard Figma hinge, so it's a hinge and then a peg in the foot and in the ankle, so you can rotate that around, give yourself an ankle rocker a little bit. This piece is not entirely hard plastic, but it's not that soft, so it will get in the way. You still get a pretty good range of motion out of the foot, so that's nice. And then we have a pretty nice toe hinge. So articulation wise, it's not perfect everywhere, but it's definitely good enough. And I'm pretty happy with it. And if I was going to be buying this figure, which I will eventually if I can find a good deal, I'll be content for sure. I don't think I'll be posing him with the cape on. Unfortunately, I guess you probably have to. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the character once he gets the armor. The cape's probably a necessity, but it's just so limiting once you get that on there, and you'll see in the photos at the end. It's a really cool figure. I do recommend it, but I recommend you don't pay like 200 bucks for it like most people are asking, just because it's going to be fairly limited in posing. So if you're expecting it to be awesome, you might be let down, but it is awesome just because it's Guts in his Berserk armor, so there is that. So there it is, guys. Stick around for the posing at the end so you can see what it looks like in action. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.